Hello? Is anybody out there? What's happening, guys? Fake Truth here. Yeah. Thanks for everybody for coming over from the Fugel fam. It's rough out here on the internet these days, and sometimes it's okay to feel like you're talking to yourself. A lot of people, I guess, talk to themselves, but it's hard to know stuff unless you really say it out loud. I think exchanges of ideas it's kind of important because you got to work stuff out. If you're just turning it over in your head, you may not really come to the right conclusion, or you may easily be convinced one way or the other. So, can we talk about it? You guys want to talk about it? All right. So, yeah, for people that are just getting here for the first time, it's not just gonna be about the Chernobyl show. Definitely gonna get into that, but what I try to do, at least when I'm not doing something else, is get on here every night and do a couple things. Show you some pictures that I personally took that I know I can vouch for. I know that I took these pictures. I know they weren't doctored. I was driving and I shouldn't have been sticking my arm out of the window, but I did, and I took this picture, and I know I was there, basically. And you don't know what's going on with me. I could be lying to you, but I'm not. Basically, this is a picture I took, and I'm trying to take these every day. Just a bunch of different pictures, and compare the clouds, see what the weather's going on, and just do my own research, because the satellites they may not give you the whole picture. They may and there's a lot of good channels out there, Mike Morales and other people looking at the weather, Mr. MBB 333, obviously, and a lot of that's like user generated, which is great, obviously, because then you can get a larger source from across the country. But at the same time, right, you can't really be sure if somebody's sending you something, if what the deal is there. So taking my own pictures. I'm out here in California. Not going to say exactly where. Well, Los Angeles area, but that's a gigantic goddamn area. So, but that's the weather out here, and it's pretty important weather, I would say, going down.
The real danger is that if we hear enough lies, then we no longer recognize the truth at all.
Do you guys understand that? Yeah, I know it's annoying. I think it's annoying too with the voice changer, but there's honestly no way that I could allow this content to get out with my voice unchanged. Calling in over the phone, that's pretty low res, so it's okay. But I don't want to risk it, basically. Did you understand what I said? I'm gonna play it again. Try to sneak this by the censors.
The real danger is that if we hear enough lies, then we no longer recognize the truth at all.
That's from the start of the show of Chernobyl. If we hear enough lies, we can no longer recognize the truth at all. And yeah, I'm gonna get way deep into TV because I've seen so much TV. So you start to see the patterns. It's and you feel like you want to tell somebody about it, basically. But they put stuff out there, basically, that tracks with what's going on in the world, and that this is a show about Chernobyl, Russia, and that whole thing, the meltdown, and it has nothing to do with today, ostensibly, right? But this statement that's the first part of the show could not be more relevant to today. That it's, I guess part of the reason why I named my channel this is like, truth is fake and fake is truth, and you look for truth in fake things, and true things are fake, and it's all backwards and forwards, and it just gets kind of dizzying, which makes people pretty easy to steer around, basically, right? So this is what you're supposed to be thinking about, all these lies and things spreading around, right? You should not listen to questionable theories. You should not check out too much weird stuff, because if you hear too many lies, you're not going to be able to recognize the truth anymore. You have to sort of protect your mind from crazy stuff. So, you don't get confused because your mind is a fragile thing. You're not going to be able to, intelligently differentiate between truth and fiction after a while if you look at too much weird stuff. And that's definitely what's going on right now here on YouTube. That all this kind of stuff, this fringe stuff, this whole channel, this whole idea of my channel, it's like, yeah, that's not gonna get promoted in any possible way. It's gonna be an uphill battle, and it's gonna be hard to get out there. But wait, I thought we were in 1980s Russia. Um, so yeah, no more critical thinking. We're gonna get back into that. Um, but part of my journey, these are actually, I didn't get any sky pictures from today. Just it was a day. So what inevitably happens on my journey is looking at the sky is beautiful images of the fifth generation network, and these I'm sort of making a collection. Collect all the small cells because I think it's nice. I mean, I think that's really like my whole thesis. Like, get conscious about what's going on in the world. Don't just let it wash over you the way basically they want you to. Like, just because you're supposed to not critically think, just like, consume it. And I think that's where the news cycle is just so insane these days because there's just no time to really reflect on anything. You got to move on to the next thing that's happening, and it's like really crazy stuff happening every day. So and I talk to regular people out there in the world, and they don't even. I say, like, have you heard about this 5G thing? And they're like, no, what's that? And I'm like, bro, right? This is gonna take like a mini lecture here to just get you up to the basics. And we're not gonna talk about more Morgan Stanley, that worm thing that we're not supposed to talk about, and all the other weird stuff that happens in the sky. So I'm trying to develop a new. I guess that's the new game here on YouTube. This language, this censorship language of how do we talk about what we're looking at? These fluffy. These seem like these are more natural things, not like what was the time lapse was showing in the beginning. The more sort of artificial seeming ones. So yeah, no, I do want to get into Chernobyl, and that's another image from Chernobyl. But the plan is to have half an hour and just chill on it. And so we talk about the weather for a second, and we're gonna move on over here to the news because right, that's another place to look for truth and look for fake and try to find the differences basically, because it's the truth. You can sort of start to feel it if you really just let yourself become sensitive again, right? Which is really hard because there's just we're so desensitized. That's just the name of the game these days. Ah, man, it really is rough out there these days. Is this what we're supposed to think, or is it everything fine? Is it nothing's really changed out there? I don't know. Having the weather be all weird makes it really hard to imagine like anything being like it was in the past. So, I mean, I probably can't say any of these words, but I definitely have been following this thread because it's a fascinating thread where risks are overblown, statistics are falsified, all sorts of other weird numbers are thrown out, and then who knows who you're talking to. You honestly can't really talk about this stuff in public. I've not been known to be able to talk about this in public with anybody. Honestly, this is like almost more dangerous than talking about the sky, because I don't know, it strikes at the heart. And right, but honestly, if you do some research, you learn some really freaky stuff. And regardless of that whole thing, just this whole concept of things becoming mandatory, of right, and it's all tied together basically. I get into some gematria too, but right, if they can convince people that this is okay, then it's just the next domino is like right next door. It's gonna be really, you can't do the next thing until you do this, where you're really making people pay some serious money for not stepping in line. and there's all sorts of fines that you get all over, but I don't, there's not never been a fine for this, and not that much. That's pretty serious amount, right? But I thought this was the one where on the Brady Bunch, it was not that big of a deal, you know. I'm pretty sure I had it. I mean, right? Comment if you had this thing, like, and stayed home from school for like 3 days, 4 days, and it was like whatever. And so that's right. The hardest part is to track the distortions because there is danger. There is for both sides basically, but things can get massively distorted one way or the other, right? The results can be falsified and tamped down, and then all of a sudden some organization's getting sued to you know not tell how many kids are actually getting sick from what's happening, and all those studies turned out to be falsified, and then the 1% turns into 10%, and then all of a sudden, right, it's a hell of a lot of people, but you're not going to see it really written anywhere, and you're definitely not going to hear it talked about in the mainstream. You're going to hear that everything is chill, because everything's always chill, and you should hate this baby for having this disease, because, well, you should hate the parents even more for being some ungrateful assholes, but it's just like with everything these days in society. You're trying to just separate us, and right, they've already separated us in the country from Democrats, Republicans, and that whole thing. But they're really trying to split us right down the middle, like right down the family. So you can't even talk to your own relatives. You can't really talk to your friends, right? You can really only that's why I'm here on the internet, like using my voice changer, because I feel like these are words that only I can say out into the darkness without like self-censoring in the moment, you know what I mean? Because I feel like everything, no matter who I'm talking to, especially once you go down this whole rabbit hole, learning how the world actually works, then there's so much you can't talk about, and then it just takes too long. People don't have the attention span to be like, okay, so there's this thing called the Heritage Foundation, and then right, they're already like checking out their Instagram, like you lost them instantly, because a lot of this truth stuff, like it's a longer story. It's not like an Instagram story. It takes a little bit of time to get this stuff. So right, I want you to keep your eyes open, you know what I mean? I was just listening, what was that guy? It was Sam Tripoli. That guy's pretty silly. I really much prefer the Higher Side Chats. Everybody definitely go check out the Higher Side Chats, because his interviews are just mind blowing. His whole thing is, I should give him a shout out. Greg Carlwood is the man, definitely. I mean, Marfugel's the man, but Greg Carlwood, he's the interview man, and that's I just got a lot of knowledge out of that guy. You should definitely go check that out. But Sam Tripoli was interviewing this gematria guy, Zachary Hubbard, which is another guy you should definitely check out, and he mostly talks about gematria in sports and how like it's all lined up. It's all lined up like crazy town. Like you wouldn't even believe, not just the Super Bowl, not just the famous players, but just like all of it. And there's sacrifices there. There's all sorts of weird stuff that goes on, in all sorts of games that you wouldn't think like honestly matter that much. But it's basically scripted, and he's got the numbers to prove it, and he's got all these bookies that like, and bettors that subscribe to his channel because he's like straight up right all the time. And just, think about those repercussions. All of your dads, all your favorite sports game, oh, let's go watch the Dodgers, like literally to the yard line, to the pitch, to the all of it. It's all scripted. And like, extrapolate from there. Gotta be able to extrapolate. What's fake about this? What is not fake about this? Can you do your own research? 'Cause it's gonna take some time. I'm not gonna force you, but go check it out. What about any of this is true? He lost a lot of money. You think they talk about how Amazon never paid any taxes ever, Apple and all those other mega corporations, like as if tax dodging was like something rare. Like it's right. It's hard to understand how far we've come in such a short time to where people can be writing this kind of stuff and nobody's like, wait a minute, like, what about literally every corporation? What about Delaware? What about literally every single? Ugh, it's just so exhausting because you're like, where do I even start? Like, this is so blatantly like this bait and switch thing that's just supposed to make you super angry, and it's working like gangbusters. I can't believe you're all falling for it. Oh, his tax returns. I can't believe they've been playing this game for this long. And talking about gematria, all Trump is gematria. Oh, I said the T word. Oh, is my stream gonna get cut off? Fuck. Oh, I said the fuck word. Is the fuck word okay? Can I say fuck? Sorry, guys. Sorry, kids. I guess I can't say this guy's name. Depends on how you talk about it, right? Yeah, I like to look at all the channels, and if you did notice that Mr. Alex J got kicked off of Facebook and all this other stuff, I honestly don't know how much of that is scripted. How much of it is scripted? Am I scripted? Is my like meaningless tiny little live here with just a handful of people watching, is that scripted? What is my name gematria out to? Like, and then you start to feel crazy a little bit, and that's what my regular friends always talk about. How like, oh, you're just spinning in circles. None of this is actually. It doesn't matter, right? You're pattern spinning. You're recognizing things that aren't there. Well, I just always think like, well, if you had watched that 7 hour documentary, a very heavy agenda, which again recommend, go check that one out. It's on Vimeo and you have to pay for it, but it's mega worth it. 7 hours of some very intense documentation of how the world works, and yeah, my life was never the same after that. And right, you go through enough experiences like that. I'm grateful for it because you can never go back. It's that red pill, but at the same time, it makes it harder and harder to connect with the people IRL. I think, and part of me starts to think that maybe that was part of the game, to marginalize, because we're just marginalizing all day long now. Do you hate this guy? Oh man, did you hear what he says? Oh, like everybody in real life. Oh my god, my Trump is bad. Like, you're still falling for this? The guy that was on WWF? Like, how much more scripted does it need to be for you to see it? But I think that's their favorite part. Like, let's get ultra brazen. Let's put it all out there. Let's put it all in the numbers. Let's use all these numbers. Let's use their dates. Let's use keywords. Let's let's put the symbols all over the place. Let's name people stupid stuff that like that's their role in the play. Oh, let's name him Trump. Like, oh no, they're gonna figure that one out. Nah, are you serious? Like, bro, they don't figure out anything. Like, just call him Trump. Call him Wiener. No, dude, you can't call him Wiener. You can't call Anthony Wiener Anthony Wiener. Like, that is a bridge too far. No, no, they just called him that. It's right. And I think once you really start to see the patterns, you will. It's just sort of mind blowing that you could go that long without seeing them because it's right in front of you. I mean, I would point you to that classic video of the gorilla running through the guy's basketballing. It's all over the place. Right. So that's the news part. But I want to get into entertainment because that's really where I think it's right. Since because everything's flipped, I think you find more truth, you find more truthful, powerful things in fiction than you would ever find on the news. That's where all the fiction is, basically. But this is where they put a lot of the truth. It is masked and it's shaped in a certain way that makes it, compelling. There are dramatic rules and ways to make things that people want to watch, but that just increases its power and influence, and it's probably I think the mightiest sword, and a lot of people in this community underestimate it because I'm gonna be the first one to admit, like, I love this stuff. I love watching all these shows, watch all the characters. I'm a huge fan of a lot of this stuff. But at the same time, right? You're vulnerable. If you're just gonna kick back and let it like slide down your throat, then you may be being convinced of certain ideas and certain ways of thinking that honestly, like that wasn't your idea. Like you just got it spoon fed from the show. And right, yeah, a lot of people, other people talk about like, oh yeah, you're getting propagandized from CNN or whatever these other networks. That's the news, right? That's politics. What are you missing while you're watching the dragons? You know what about your stance on femininity and many other things that I was talking about in another episode about this show. And again with that gematria, like everything planned down to a T, all the news story stuff. It's hard to know how hard to go on that stuff, but for some reason this story is living on that this whole episode about them drinking, they killing all the zombies and celebrating, which you have to drink for, that they left a Starbucks coffee cup on the table and it was there and everybody got a screenshot and was freaking out about it, and it's obviously like Starbucks or something like that, but they went in I guess last night and CG'd it out of all of the content. But I guess if you already downloaded a copy, then you're gonna have it. I guess I could dig it out. But why was this made such a big deal? And also, like, literally how? It's 10 million an episode. There must have been hundreds of people that saw this frame and let it go through. Like, not an exaggeration. Like, handing down from editors to music to re-recording to the director to the... Right? It's on so many platforms, so many people looking at it, and they just let it slip by. Like, are you... Really? We're supposed to buy that? I guess. It's a funny story, right? Anyways, let's get back to the main event. I'm gonna try to play some of this audio, some of this video. It's really hard to sneak this mainline stuff by the censors here. It is possibly, I think, the quickest trigger that they have of getting stuff, right? Getting the stream shut down. I've already, I'm trying to figure this out, but I've already had a bunch of streams shut down from showing really just like 5 or 6 seconds of stuff that aired, and it's because I think that it aired the night before. It's really relevant, recent stuff, and they honestly just don't want any sort of, nothing too critical, nothing too, I get the split screen, nothing too, serious, right? Because you're supposed to just let it wash over you. It's at the end of your day, you're relaxing. Oh, did you just see Chernobyl? Yeah, man, it was intense. All the while, like, right, not really recognizing the effect it's having on you. And again, like, I think the more you watch, the more consciously you see it, you won't be as susceptible to what you're doing. You'll more notice the techniques, the things, the ways they're doing it. Because I remember, being that really susceptible person. I remember empathizing and just, going, I love it. I'll never stop loving entertainment because it's entertainment, and that's my business basically. But at the same time, like, damn, it's nefarious. It's a brutal power, possibly the most powerful thing that there is right now. So, yeah, if you don't know about the show, it's Chernobyl. It's just like a very gruesome reenactment of the actual event, played out in a 6-part miniseries. And right, we just had the first episode last night, and that's sort of what I was talking about on the show. I think about, first of all, like, how realistic this was and how powerful these images were. Here's this bird dying from the toxic plume that's flying out of the sky. And it's just made to seem like it's the scariest, most worst thing that ever happened in the history of mankind. This reactor explosion, right? And that's just sort of been drummed into you for a super long time. Like, reactors are scary and bad, and you're gonna get radiation poisoning. And there's been depictions of it in film and media, but definitely nothing this graphic, this powerful and well made. Basically, it's co-production with Sky, so they got that British money plus the HBO money. So there's seriously money in this production, and it's definitely beautifully made. And it looks like we're good so far. I'm gonna try to let these clips run. They may be blurred enough for us to get by, but that's the trouble. They're bloated so much that we can't really talk about the images. And so I'm going to try to keep refining the system. This is just a shot they're carrying out a scientist that, he got wrecked by the radiation. But the whole time he was trying to deny that oh, it's no big deal, right? It's no big deal. I'm not sick. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But it explodes and he gets super radiation sick and he's like vomiting everywhere. It's really graphic. Like it's an hour and a half of just people getting wrecked by this radiation, and it just it's invisible and it's terrifying, and it really makes you think of being in that situation. What if the nukes go off, or what if you see this on TV? What if some nuke goes off someplace, some reactor explodes, and there's actual civilians involved? Even if it doesn't happen to you, well, you're definitely gonna know how to feel, because the show is telling you how it feels. Like I felt it. Those it's a special kind of grossness, like to worry about radiation. It's not like it's different than the 5G, like actual radioactive radiation. That's terrifying. And I'm gonna try to play this clip because I think it's interesting.
Obviously down here is nothing but in the reactor building, I'm being told. 3.6 Roman per hour. Well, that's not great, but it's not horrifying. Not at all. From a people, I assume. We have to limit shifts to 6 hours at a time, but otherwise. And cemeteries should be checking regularly. Other needs are good meter. I'm safe. Right.
All right, I don't know if you got any of that. Just let me know in the comments. I'm still really just trying to refine the system, and it's really frustrating because, right, honestly, that's like what this platform is supposedly for exchanging ideas. We got this whole chat system here. I want to be able to talk about these images with you, but I'm absolutely terrified of hitting the copyright button, even on using like a 10-second clip. So, I'm going to do my best to mask it and try to get it by. I'm not in it, right? This is a tiny ass channel. I'm not trying to monetize. I'm not trying to do anything. I just want to start a discussion. And even that is just, they're making it basically impossible. Which, again, can scare you or not if you're just dead asleep. Depending, but I guess if you're dead asleep, then there's other problems. He's talking about how in this nuclear facility, they only have sensors that go up to 3.6 roentgens an hour, whatever, unit of measure. Apparently that's a pretty small measurement, and that's not lethal radiation. That's not so bad, but that's the point. Like if they leave the top needle at 3.6 and everybody's actually what's the actual radiation? You're telling people it's this number, when in reality that's what the scene's about. Like in a safe is a more sensitive instrument, and they go and get that and they measure it and they say, oh man, it's 200. It's not 3.6, it's 200. And like I don't know that scale or whatever, but apparently that's just like face melting amounts of radiation. And it's like not a big deal, or is it? And that's the whole question here. This whole thing is like ultra dramatic. It really seems like the world is basically ending. Like this is a catastrophe beyond all possible problems. But was it? Because it's honestly compelling. That's why I was watching this whole thing. But let's pause it for a second because I really want you guys to see this. If I just type in Chernobyl, but I don't know how to spell Chernobyl because nobody knows how to spell anymore. Okay, right? 1986. It's very like perfectly done in the show. This is it looks great, and it's just terrifying. There's billowing smoke coming out of this. There's like a laser beam going to the sky, which I guess is supposed to be the reactor that's like juicing all over everybody. Right, terrified. This is, oh man, I can't believe this happened. So many. Wait a second. Deaths. 28. Wait. 28 people died. Okay, so there must have been more. for like fallout and all that other, all that other bad stuff. Like the end of the episode, there's a giant cloud coming towards the next town. They're all just gonna melt to death and die. 15 radiation deaths. Okay, like 130 guys hospitalized. Excess of 15 childhood thyroid cancer deaths. Oh, damn, 15. Out of how many? Like, do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, this is in it as a boogeyman. Like, there is nothing scarier than Chernobyl. Like, that is like what keeps you up at night. The nuclear reactors blowing and just melting all of our faces off. But we're talking numbers that are like less than today just from just living in a populated city. There's more people that got shot like in one major city like in one day. That's not a lot of people. So why is it this terrifying, scary thing? And again, like there's just a lot to look into. I'm not gonna like I can't really hold everybody's. I can't even hold my own hand. I gotta go. But I heard this amazing interview with a nuclear technician that was like, God damn, this whole thing is overblown. Like, I would go swimming in the reactor core pools, like literally swimming next to the reactor cores. Like, this whole thing it's like a story. It's a made up story to terrify everybody. But in reality, like we're talking like danger levels that like 5G is so much more dangerous than anything related to nuclear energy, which, right? It's a really hard one to fight against because that's been drummed into you super long, right? And that's your parents jumping under the table and ducking for cover. You know what I mean? Like that. The nuclear myth is just ultra old. And I don't want you to be afraid of digging even deeper. Like, if you can handle it, if you can not go crazy, go deeper. Think about stuff. Why are these diamonds on this window? Because I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty soon, unless you guys got some questions. My main sort of jam is finding symbols in film and television because I think they have insane power. Just absolutely bananarama power, and you don't recognize them. You never notice them when you're watching. You just let them wash over you as usual. But for some reason, this diamond pattern is on the walls of so many important scenes and important shows across genres, across time periods, across decades. These diamonds, and you may think I'm crazy. That's probably true too, but you're right. And then a guy said, like, that's not really relevant. Why are there hexagons everywhere? Are they putting spells on us? Why is the hexagon caging this person in? Why is the hexagon always used as a symbol of imprisonment in one layer? I mean, that's always the thing. When you talk about one layer, you can't talk about the other layer. There's too many layers. It's just layers on top of more layers. I mean, you're totally screwed at this point. Trying to figure it out, right? So you shouldn't even try. Just let it wash over. Don't worry about it. Just go watch Netflix. Just go check it out. No. What if you tried? I mean, it's maybe when you're not like super exhausted, but when you have a little more energy, just check out whatever. And we're talking scripted. I don't really, I'm not getting into reality shows and all that Kardashian nonsense. I'm sure that is scripted as hell too, but I'm less interested in that in general, and the symbolism I don't think is as thick, but right. This is a frame from American Gods. Why is that a hexagon full of money in a mall that's broken? Why are these hexagons in Star Trek? What do they It's probably just a coincidence. Couldn't possibly have any power. Symbols. Symbols, it doesn't matter. What shapes meaning in your life? Like, you don't really care, do you? Or no? And, right, slippery slope. Because depending on how fragile you, if you start to question everything, questioning the flat earth, questioning your sanity. Some people can handle a certain level and then really do start to lose it. But I think that's not most people out there. Most people out there, honestly, like, if you just ask them to wake up and think for 1 second, like, they would. They'd be down. They'd be like, huh. Well, that is interesting. Let me look the next time I'm watching some television. Is somebody in prison? Is somebody jailed? Is somebody getting protected? Is there a hexagon somewhere in the frame? Maybe it's the structure of the force field. Maybe it's on the grates. Maybe on a wall. Maybe it's just a little box, little set piece that's on the side of the table. Maybe it's covering the entire image. And all shapes have power, but I think the hexagon is possibly the most powerful because, well, I'm not really sure why yet, but it's the hex. It's the spell. It puts the spell on you. And those that know about stuff, you look into gematria, look into sacred geometry, a lot of religious symbols based in hexagons, a lot in pentagrams, but hexagons cast that spell. They really do. They really do. And the more you can notice them consciously, the more you can escape the spell. The less effective these things are going to be on you. The more you'll be able to combat and think for yourself. Isn't that what we're talking about here? We'll see you guys tomorrow.